Welcome into Rover Sports. I hope everybody's Tuesday is going really, really well. It's actually Wednesday. That just shows you how the days kind of flow together in the summertime. But today I'm going to be talking about the New York Jets, little brother of the New York Giants. But in all seriousness, I'm going to talk about them today, and I'm going to tell you everything about my opinions on this football team. And basically, I am going to tell you everything about the New York Jets that I think is going to transpire this year. So first, when we look at the New York Jets, we have the head coaches we have Todd Bowles as a head coach, and I've never been a fan of Todd Bowles. Even though Todd Bowles has never sucked, like Todd Bowles has never lost, what was it, like 12 games or something? Here's his pro football statistics with the New York Jets as a head coach. He did go 10-6 in 2015. If you remember, that was the year with Ryan Fitzpatrick there, beating the Patriots, but then they lost to the Bills. They couldn't even get in the playoffs that year. Then he won 5-11 2 consecutive years in a row. And I want to go back and try to figure out this 2015 Jets team and look at the schedule and results for this team. So the Jets in 2015, they went and they had a nice winning streak. They even beat Dallas 19-16. I remember some of these games. They beat the Giants in overtime. Oh, yeah, that was a massive choke job by the Giants there. That was a game I actually chose to repress from memory. Anyway, though, as we look into the future of the New York Jets, Todd Bowles coming off 5-11 seasons. The offense of the New York Jets has been really shitty the past couple of years. I mean, they've decided to go with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, and they decided to go with Josh McCown. And the New York Jets decided to keep Ryan Fitzpatrick, even though data would tell you that Ryan Fitzpatrick was a very mediocre to terrible player in the NFL. At best, Ryan Fitzpatrick can be mediocre, but the Jets were dumb enough to resign him, and that caused some 5-11 seasons for the New York Jets. They haven't been horrible, but they haven't been great at all. And if you look at the New York Jets, let's go back to last year's schedule because it's so indicative of Todd Bowles, okay? So the Jets, they go out, and when did they play the Bills? They played the Bills on Thursday Night Football, and they actually played really well against Buffalo and won that game pretty decisively. But then before the bye week, they're sitting at 4-5. They're playing Tampa Bay, who's a terrible team. They go 10. They lose that game 15-10. And their offense only puts up 275 yards during the game. All right. So the offense at inopportune times was terrible. Then they went and they did beat Kansas City. They lost to the Panthers at home. I kind of remember that game, a little bit of a rainstorm game. They played all right in that game on offense. The defense kind of blew it. But then they lose to Denver, and then it was Tank City when they lost to Denver. It was an embarrassing performance, losing to the Denver Broncos there, 23-0. McCown was perfectly healthy. There's no reason why you should have went to Denver and laid a complete egg like that. Todd Bowles losing to Tampa Bay and Denver, totally unacceptable stuff from Todd Bowles last year. I look at Todd Bowles, I think his leadership skills are poor. I don't think he's a great communicator. He's not a great motivator. He has drafted decently in the secondary. You have Jamal Adams there in the secondary. You have guys like Marcus May that can play in the secondary a little bit. But Maurice Claiborne, I don't think is very good. I don't think Buster Skrine is very good. So the cornerbacks are really lacking. Then Demario Davis is gone from the New York Jets. He's going to be on the New Orleans Saints. So when you look at the Jets, their pass rush has a potential to be pretty good because you have Leonard Williams, who at the 6th pick in the draft, he was a good pick. Jamal Adams is a good player. And Darren Lee out of Ohio State is undersized, but is a decent player. You went in free agency. You got Avery Williamson out of Tennessee. I like that. He plays an aggressive style of football. You're trotting out, but you did lose Muhammad Wilkerson, I believe. I don't think Mo Wilkerson is there anymore. And you also lost Sheldon Richardson. So looking at this defense, you did go out and get a good cornerback in Tremaine Johnson from the Rams. So you did happen to accomplish that. So the secondary is looking good. It's May, it's Jamal Adams, it's J.J. Wilcox from Dallas. That's a huge hitter. That'll be great in nickel, maybe as a nickelback or as a backup here for a safety position. That was a really good pickup by the Jets. Then they get Kevin Minter in there. I want to see Minter try to play, but they have Jordan Jenkins, Darren Lee, Williamson. The linebackers are okay. I'd put Minter over Lorenzo Malden. And you look at the defense is pretty much okay. On offense, you have Anunwa, you have Terrell Pryor, Devin Smith, I can't believe he's still in the league. Sharon Peak hasn't transpired. Lucky Whitehead. But then you look at this offensive line, and it's not very good at all. You have Brandon Shell. You have Kelvin Beachum. It's patchwork all over the offensive line. The running backs are terrible. Bilal Powell and Isaiah Crowell, that's the running game is going to be terrible. Then you have at quarterback, you selected Sam Darnold. Bridgewater and McCown are going to have chances to beat Darnold. But the way I see this going is with the New York Jets right now. The way I see this transpiring is I don't think this is a very good football team. The secondary, you still have Mo Claiborne. You have two elite players. You have Johnson and you have Adams in the secondary. The linebacking core is okay. The defensive line is not as good as it's been in years past. The offensive line is terrible. The quarterback is not very good. And the receivers are all unproven guys. And you're playing with a head coach that does not really know how to call offensive football. And now you're trotting out a first-year offensive coordinator in Jeremy Bates. And Jeremy Bates is going to have to save this New York Jets team. Sam Darnold's going to have to be incredible, and Bates is going to have to be incredible for this team to even come close to competing for a playoff spot. The most important thing for the New York Jets is Sam Darnold. The success of Sam Darnold, that is what's going to predicate whether this year will be successful or not, is number 14 Sam Darnold. When you instate him, and will you give him some help? And I want to see Pryor emerge. I want to see Ardarius Stewart. There is some depth on this wide receiver staff, but it all comes down to Sammy D, Sam Darnold, and to tell you the truth, guys, out of all the quarterbacks, I trust Rosen and Mayfield way over Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold does not scare me at all. He has a quirky release. He's a nice kid, but does he have that killer instinct? Will he cut your throat out? And we're going to have to see if Darnold is up to the task of doing that this year, and if he can make quick decisions and take care of the football, and if Jeremy Bates can stay in line. And the fact is, if Bates has a good season, you could just see Jeremy Bates take over as the head football coach for Todd Bowles. But the way I look at this football season, I'm not sure that Todd Bowles is going to survive. Now it is time for us to look at the New York Jets schedule and project how good this team can be. I think the Jets' strengths and weaknesses. The strengths are Tremaine Johnson and Jamal Adams. The weaknesses are the offensive line, the running game, the quarterback, and the entire offense in general. I think it could be a fall from grace, and I think Todd Bowles has just been good enough to not be fired, but I think this year the bottom's going to fall out from Todd Bowles. I don't like his leadership. He just seems like another Jim Caldwell to me. That's what Todd Bowles looks like, all right? You have Bilal Powell. You freaking have Isaiah Crowell. These are not top flight guys. First game at Detroit is a dead loss. Playing Matt Stafford on the road, a guy that I ripped on my show. That game's going to be about, the Jets in that game are going to be about 6-point dogs, and the Lions are going to beat them by 10 or 14. McCown's going to play that game, and it's going to be ugly. The Jets will come back and will beat the Dolphins week 2, go to 1-1. Then you play at Cleveland and at Jacksonville. I have the Jets losing both of these games. I have them losing to Cleveland to go to 1-2, and then when they're 1-3, when they lose to Jacksonville's going to be out for revenge. The New York Jets will then be stuck at 1-3, and then Todd Bowles could maybe get fired right after the Denver game when Denver Broncos come into town. The Jets are going to go to 1-5 as Denver's going to beat them by a small margin of victory for Denver. I think Denver's a wild card team, but the Jets are going to be 1-5. Mark my words, the New York Jets will be 1-5, and then Sam Darnold will start week 6 against the Indianapolis Colts. So the Jets will be 1-5, and Todd Bowles will be fired, and then Darnold will start week 6 versus the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to give the Jets that game as a win. So the Jets then go to 2-5. Jets play the Minnesota Vikings 2-6 as we scroll down this list. Gosh, it's twitchy list. Chicago. I think we had a bye before Chicago. Game at Soldier Field. Jets already out of it. Jets Central, again, not going to like this prediction, but he's going to have to conjure up ways to entertain you guys because I have you guys at 2-6. Chicago's a loss, 2-7. You go to Miami, 2-7, you lose that game 2-8. You beat the Bills at home 3-8. Patriots, dead loss 3-10. Tennessee, one of the best teams in the AFC, 3-11. At Buffalo, 3-12. Home against the Texans that are competing for a wild card spot. How did I mess that up? Jesus, I might have to do this again. I think I'm looking at 3-13 though. I'll go through the list succinctly. 0-1 to Detroit, Miami 1-1, at Cleveland Browns 1-2, at Jacksonville 1-3, Denver 1-4. There we go. Colts 2-4. Vikings 2-5. Bears 2-6, at the Dolphins 2-7, Bills at home 3-7, New England 3-8, Tennessee 3-9, at Buffalo 3-10, Texans 3-11, Packers 3-12, 3-13. I have the Jets winning 3 games this year. So what your guys are going to say is that the haters will motivate you. Yes, I am not a believer in the Jets. If they make the playoffs, I will be extremely surprised. If the season works out, I'll be surprised. I could see the Jets winning a couple of games, like the Denver game maybe. I could see them winning 6 games, 6-10 maybe. I'm predicting them at 3 wins. They might get to 4 or 5. Bottom line, 4 or 5. Jets fans, you guys should fire Todd Bowles and get John DeFilippo in there. And if Jeremy Bates does not work, I know you guys like Todd Bowles. You like to defend Todd Bowles. People in the media like rip Todd Bowles. Point is that I'm sorry, but you guys are eventually going to have to fire Todd Bowles, and I don't think Todd Bowles makes it 6 weeks this season. So that's my breakdown. New York Jets, thank you guys for watching as always. Even if I don't rank your team highly, I still like Jets fans, decent, good people, and that's just the truth. That's how I see the season playing out for the Jets. So thank you guys.